It's essentially birth to life. Nope.
I mean, yes.
Birth to death.
Oh. All right, and we're back. Welcome to the Church 520 weekend recap. I know it's been a couple
Of
but
weeks.
yeah, we did a week off or a couple weeks off, and then yeah, busy life happens. Anyway, we're back,
We're coming at you.
and we have 2 weeks to cover in one episode.
Yes.
Luckily, we've been doing the looking at different people within the history in the Bible. And luckily this time, both weeks we're covering the same person. So it'll just seem,
It'll be seamless.
yeah,
Seamless.
seamless. Like
Yeah.
Jesus' clothes.
It's essentially birth to life. Nope.
I mean, yes.
Birth to death. All right. Well, let's start.
So we will be covering somebody that is really well known within the Bible. I would think even those that don't have very much knowledge of the Bible would may have a little bit of knowledge of this guy, or at least the couple he ends up being a part of. And for all purposes, I mean, this guy really is a real life superhero, right?
He's not anti-hero.
Well, yes, I was going to get there.
Oh, I'm like he's not a
He is definitely
superhero.
more an anti-hero, like a Batman or a Punisher.
or what's the one with the Ryan Reynolds guy? Was it Deadpool?
Yeah,
He's kind of sassy like Deadpool, and he's
Yeah.
punishy like Punisher.
yeah, for sure. So, anyway, we're going to start this journey in Judges 13,
Yep.
right? And at that time, God was using judges to kind of guide Israel,
Right.
and or punish them, depending on what needed to happen.
It was their leader system.
Right. It was their leader system at the time before the kings, right? They were
Yes.
using judges. And they had done stupid things and once again had ended up in captivity, this time to the Philistines.
Right.
And the anyway, they had been done. They're in captivity.
Yes.
And God had already promised that eventually the Israelites were going to be a thing. They're going to be a nation,
Right.
and whatnot, right? And God not going back on that promise, oftentimes throughout Scripture would use a barren woman
A lot of times.
to bring about a baby that then would be the start of deliverance,
Right.
right? Okay, barren woman or had not had kids yet.
Yeah,
Right.
but quite a few times it's like, girl, you barren. And you're like, yeah, that girl barren.
For sure. So a barren woman gets visited by an angel and says, hey, you're going to have a baby. You're going to make him you're going to do the thing to make sure that this baby, even in womb, is going to be a Nazirite. And then afterwards, you're going to make sure this kid stays a Nazirite. And this is what's going to happen. Now she goes and tells her husband. Her husband's like, yeah, right. Angel comes to visit him, right? And then inevitably,
Normal flow of humanity. And
Yeah.
then
Well, I mean,
why don't you talk to him on your own? He's not gonna believe me.
hmm
He doesn't. And then another angel comes.
right.
Could have just been like a 2-for-1 trip, but no, people can just believe things. It would be kind of hard
I
in the
mean,
Old
it's
Testament
you gotta
too.
be skeptical,
It
right?
would be kind of hard in the Old Testament. You'd be like, "Are you sure?" Anyway, continue.
Anyway,
They say, "Oh, okay."
then that they had the statement, they did the thing, they had a baby.
Yep,
It's a boy.
it's a baby.
Yep. And they named him Samson.
Yeah,
Samson grew up, and when he grew up, he finally got to a point where he liked the ladies.
he did. He very much liked the ladies. That's part of this story.
And so he went down to Timnah, which is in the Philistine area,
Little town
currently,
over.
and I saw a lady that tickled his fancy, and he went back to his parents and said, "Hey, go get her for me."
He
Because
said,
in
"Hey,
that time, definitely
arrange that."
parents arranged everything, whether it took a couple goats or some land or whatnot. Parents arranged the
Depending on the
wedding.
quality of your lady, could just be
Could you
a heap
imagine
of dirt.
being the dad of the girl and you're like trying to negotiate this and
You're
they keep
like,
trying to lowball you?
I know what I got here. I know what I got. It's like the guys on offer up.
Right.
It's like, I've got this car. It doesn't have any engine or any windows. $20,000. I know what I got. No low
Right.
offers. Okay.
Right. But anyway, so he went back to his parents and said, "Hey,
Make
I
it
want you to
happen,
go
Captain.
get this girl." And they were like, "Heck no, tech no. She's not a Jew."
She's not.
Um,
And he said, but daddy, like Baruch Assault on
I'm
the Willy
sure he
Wonka.
didn't do
But
that.
daddy, I want it.
I'm sure he did not do that. However, they
He would
relented.
have said Abba. You're right.
They relented
Yeah.
and set the thing up, right?
Yeah.
They also didn't understand that God was in the background, paving a way for there to be odds between the Jews and the Philistines
Yeah.
to start this deliverance, right? Anyway,
The Jews kind of they be getting comfortable whenever they're in captivity.
yeah, they just kind of assimilate, right?
They do. They're like, you know what? It was rough. We're fine though, actually.
So after everything gets set up, they go to get the girl,
Yeah.
and Samson's walking along. I'm assuming away from his parents a little bit, even though they're traveling together. And he rips apart a lion, limb from limb, with his bare hands.
What a man.
That's pretty flippin' amazing to me. I can't even
They say
pull apart a
like
fried
someone
chicken.
pulls apart a goat, and I'm like, is amazing to me. Somebody pulling apart a goat. So
Right? That is
a
pretty
lion's
crazy.
bigger.
And then what did he do?
He pulled apart the lion, and then he went home.
And he came back. What was in it?
Oh well, then he came back, and there was honey in there, and he ate it, and then he handed it to his parents because they were on their way back to. His
And they
wedding.
still didn't know that it came out of a lion.
No, they would not have done that. That was part of his thing. He wasn't supposed to touch dead things.
Well, for sure, dead people. There's a debate within the family about whether it's all dead things or not. But
Yeah. But
either way, it was a carcass that, for some reason, bees decided to put some honey in it.
yeah.
Honeycomb.
Why not?
Right? And he fed them.
He
Anyway,
did.
so they have a party when they go to get this wife of his.
Right.
And
This wife of his.
and there are some people that I think had some nefarious ideas,
Yes.
and they said, "Hey, here, we'll be your friends," and like 30 people just showed up,
Yeah.
And
I was like, these are going to be your friends. And he's like, I don't really want them as my friends.
well, so he didn't just do that. He decided to pose a riddle to them. And if they could get the riddle, then it was like, oh, I'll give you clothes. But if you can't get the riddle, I'll give you...
You'll give me clothes.
Right. That's how it went.
If you get it, then, well, they were goading him. And he has the sassiness of Daredevil. Remember that. So then he said, I'm going to give you a riddle. And I will give each of you a clothing. I don't know, a pair of clothes. I will give each of you an outfit. And but if you don't get it right, then you give me each an outfit.
He said, I'll get
30.
you a piece of linen and I'll also get you clothes.
Right. I don't really know what any of that means. I just assumed an outfit.
Yep.
He'll be like, I'll buy you something fleek. And they were like, cool, thank you. Or you each buy me one. So he would get 30 new pairs of clothes.
Right. So this riddle that he posed was, out of the eater came something to eat, and out of the strong, something sweet.
That's right.
And
Do you get it?
They give him the timeline of while they're doing the wedding celebration. And for Jews, especially ancient Jews, the wedding celebration lasts a while.
Yeah,
It's like a week or something like that.
Yeah.
And
They really be partying.
these fellers could not figure out said riddle.
Right.
And they went to Samson's wife and enticed her to get the answer.
This is the first time
And
you will see this happen.
what do you think she did?
Oh, I'm sure she went to him and begged. Please tell me, my countrymen, your friends, they need the answer. If you loved me.
Right. Now, they did threaten to kill her.
They did. They said, hey, we're going to kill you and your whole family if we don't get this answer.
But she also didn't, take that to Samson and say,
Yeah,
hey,
she could have been like,
me.
hey,
right.
my new husband, if you wouldn't mind protecting me and my family from these 3 people that I told you were going to be your new best friends.
30.
What'd I say?
3.
I said 3?
Yeah.
I meant 30. I don't think I...
Yeah, she says,
syllables.
come sail away with me.
Yeah.
They could have taken off, too.
Like,
right?
let's just dip out. We're married enough.
Right. But that's not what she did. She actually ended up begging him to get the answer.
If you love me.
And she finally gives it to them. And they come to Samson on the final day and say, we know the answer. And he says, well, okay, what is it? I mean, paraphrasing.
Right.
Not
They
word
gave
for
him
word.
the answer.
And yeah, which is
It's
what
that
is
honey from the lion. What? Oh, what they say?
yes,
What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?
right. And what did Samson say to them?
Had you not plowed my heifer.
No, that's not what they said.
That's what he said.
No,
Yeah.
with my heifer, not plowed my heifer. Plowed with my heifer.
I honestly think that it probably meant. Well, maybe they didn't. In my head.
No, it's using the livestock to do work. They used his wife to get the answer. Okay.
That's a bit more PG than what I had. I was like, that's insane.
And so he knew that they had gotten the answer.
Right. Had you not talked to my wife, you wouldn't have the answer to this riddle.
Yep. And anyway, so he gets a little perturbed because he's been duped. Right?
But he did go get them clothings.
He did.
Outfits.
He did. Right off the people that were wearing them.
He did.
He
He did not purchase them.
no, but there are about 30 people that gave up their lives for it.
There are 30 people that are now naked.
Right. And dead.
Also that. They don't really care much if they have clothes anymore.
Right. So he comes back and throws the clothes at him and takes off
Yes.
and leaves his wife there.
And then he runs into the mountains
And after a while,
to sulk.
he,
Hide.
I'm assuming, comes down off of his anger and comes
Sure.
back,
Sure.
right? And is going to get his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees his father-in-law and he's like, bro, I already gave her to your friend.
He's like, hey, I have this goat. I'm coming to apologize. And he's like, oof, you didn't come back. So we assumed that you didn't want to be with her anymore. So we gave her to somebody else.
Yep.
And he was like,
And then
who does that?
And then he was
That's
like,
my girl.
how about her younger sister? Mm-hmm. And he was like, yeah, nah.
No, dog. I don't want her. Thank you.
Which enraged him again.
See what I'm saying? Like, he's
And
got emotional
he
resilience
captured
issues.
foxes, tied them together by their tails, and then tied torches on their tails and said, adios, and set them free in the grain barns and areas in the...
And the fields.
Yeah. And burnt up basically all their food.
In my head, because he's so strong, he like tied the fox's tails.
Yes, that's...
But my mom was saying maybe he just like used twine and tied them together.
Could have.
In my head, he like twisted up their tails
Yeah.
and like attached fire to that. And I was like, oh no. But if maybe he just used some string. And then it was just hanging behind them and they were just scared and running. But when the candle burnt off, they could like gnaw the rope and then go home.
I doubt it. Knowing the type of anger that this guy is feeling, doubtful. He is fully seeing red.
Yeah, he really needs.
I mean, it is a
He needs
possibility,
some
but doubtful.
counseling. Okay.
But not just the grain and everything, but also vineyards and olive groves.
Yeah, like everything.
Everything.
All of their livestock or livelihood. He sent the foxes with burning tails.
Now, what was his wife afraid of earlier?
I don't really know.
Being killed, right? Because
Oh, yeah, from the guys.
yeah. Well, guess what? Because Samson then went and burned down everything, she got killed anyway, her and her family. Because they were like, Samson did this. Let's go get his wife and father-in-law. Mm-hmm. So she ended up dying anyway. And after that, he took off and actually went and lived in a cleft of the rock at Etam.
Yeah.
So
I assume it's like a little cave.
He was living there.
Camp out.
And as he was living there, the Philistines decided that they were going to march and go get him. Mm-hmm. And they came to Judah. And the Judean fellow citizens there were like, what are you doing? They're like, we want Samson. Mm-hmm. So actually the Israelites go and get Samson from where he's at. Now, Samson's like, okay, promise not to kill me. And they're like, okay, we won't kill you. And they tied him up and they brought him back. And then as soon as he gets back to where the Philistines are and they're celebrating, he breaks his bonds, takes a jawbone of a donkey, and then kills them all. So
Yeah.
he laid waste to them.
Yeah.
Now, after that, he didn't learn his lesson.
No.
He sure didn't. Because
He
then he
really
went down to Gaza, and that
As
Philistine
one
area,
does.
as one does, and decided to have some fun with the lady of the night. Mm-hmm. And the Gazans decided, hey, that's Samson. We're going to wait by the city gate to get him. We're going to kill him.
Let's go. We ride at dawn.
Well, and they stood by the gate all night. And about midnight, Samson decided to have a different plan. He went out and said, "Hurrah!" and actually picked up the gate posts and all
Yep.
and carried them up onto a hill. It doesn't say that he smacked any of them around or anything like that, so we can't assume that he did that, but we do know that he essentially took the thing that was protecting the city
Yeah.
and put it up on a hill.
Yeah, you would. You can't reach this, can you? Your gate and the posts. Your
Right.
city is no longer safe with me in it or outside of it.
Now, after that had happened, he went
After
to
that,
the Valley of Sorek.
he's just a traveler, you know,
So
a
we
traveler
have
and a lover.
one lady that tried to deceive him. That ended badly.
Sure.
Another lady didn't try to deceive him, but the people around her meant him harm.
Yeah.
That went okay. Like, we don't hear of any killing, right?
I mean,
The fence and the gate might have something different to say, but nevertheless,
right.
he decides to go to the Valley of Sorek. Now, in this valley, he meets another lovely lady.
Yes. This one you guys know.
Super lovely. And what does it say about this lady? She is not great.
I don't what we gonna. Well, she is a Philistine.
She is a Philistine,
Yep.
right?
And he loved her. How
loved
long
her.
has he been around her? Or is he just kind of like a fall in love at first sight kind of guy? Or it seems like he loves quickly, is all I'm saying. He loved her, though.
Yeah, some would say too quick. But anyway, they fell in love, and with the way he acted, it seems like he genuinely cared for her.
All right.
Maybe been blinded by some of her attributes on things.
She's a pretty lady.
And anyway, the lords of the Philistines
Yeah, like they're
came
leaders.
to Delilah and offered her money so that she could coerce her husband to let them know where his strength is found. What
Shady
would
dealings.
actually bind him up.
We don't know how many lords there are,
No.
first off. But it's 11,000 pieces of silver. 1,100?
1,100 per person.
1,100 per lord. Even if that's 2 lords, that's still 2,200 silvers. In my head, I'm just translating that to like dollars. And I'm like,
It's a lot of money.
2,200, like $2,000 to find out why you're so strong.
Yeah. I'll tell you for free.
These guns. Yes. So this
But
is
not
where
just-
most of the story starts that everybody knows.
Not just where his power, like why he's so strong, but also what we can do to overtake him. Right? And what do we
Nice.
see? What do we see her do?
She asks him.
She asks him, right?
She's like, "Hey,
Please tell me where your great
buddy.
strength comes from.
you want to tell me?" And he's like, "Oh,
And he's like, yeah, tie me up with bowstrings.
yeah, bowstrings that have never been strung before or
Right.
fought an arrow or whatever."
And not yet dried.
Yes, green bowstrings.
And what does she do?
She does. She ties him up.
Not only would she be telling these Lord Philistines.
Yeah, because she could have just been like, "Here's what he says. Now do it yourself." They
Right.
bring her the bowstrings, and she's like, "I gotta tie him. Okay, I'll tie him up."
Right.
So she ties him up, and she's like, "Samson, the Philistines are upon you," and he's like, "Roar!"
Yeah.
And he snaps everything, and she's like, "You lied to me. That's not what makes you strong."
Yeah. That's exactly what she did.
And she's
Even
like,
though she was being
"Please."
a poopy.
Yeah, please tell me why. And he's like, "Oh, if you here's I was like in my head, I I thought that Samson had hair like, do you remember Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman?
Uh-huh.
Like I thought he had like beautiful
Okay.
like hair that was like kind of curly and like beautiful. What?
Well,
What does it say though in the Bible?
Well, we were going to get there.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Because remember,
Oh,
he
there's
tells
another
her
one.
new ropes.
New ropes before hairs.
Right. New
New
ropes
ropes.
before hairs. Mm-hmm. And
Ones have never been used.
again, he snaps them like they're twigs, right? And
Yeah.
the Philistines run away once again.
Yeah.
And then,
She is sassy again.
if you tie my 7 locks
Weave them.
of my head and weave them into a loom, then I will be weak. And what does she do? She braids his hair into the loom.
It just weirds me. I never thought of him as having just like 7 chunks of hair.
Right.
I mean, maybe he has like hair and then he has dreads also.
Maybe.
And so then she's just like into the. Anyway, he breaks it. The loom, not his hair.
Well, actually, he just pulls the batten out. Like the chopsticks you put your hair when you put it up. He pulls out the thing.
I know it's like he pulls out the batten and the web from that. Like he just pulls it all apart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He breaks it.
Okay.
I'm assuming that's how something is broke. If you understand how to weave and you know what a batten is, and maybe I could have looked it up, but
anyway, he chases them off again, right?
Yes.
And every time she's like, Samson, they're upon you. Like she's the one that's done tied him up or whatever.
surprise.
Surprise. And after this time, what does she do? Because before this, she was like, oh, you've mocked me. You won't tell me the truth.
Yeah.
So what does she do this time?
Now she complains like bigger and it's all like meow 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 meow.
How can you say you love me?
Yeah.
So she
throws it all back in his face.
Mm-hmm. And talks about how these 3 times and you've not told me great strength lies. And essentially she becomes a nag. Because the Bible talks about how Samson becomes so vexed in his soul. Like he just wants to die, it seems.
I could imagine.
And then he actually tells her.
He does. Why not walk away?
Move,
Why not?
right?
That's when Christopher was like, we've all been in relationships where we should not have been in the relationship. And they have like been not what we needed. And
we couldn't see it.
We couldn't see it at the time. And I'm like, okay, I'm feeling called out. No, I get it. You're right. You are correct.
So he tells her that, hey, no razor has ever touched my head.
No razor.
And essentially that's where because he's been a Nazirite to God since his mother's womb.
Yes.
I haven't been shaved. And if I am shaved, then I will become weak like any other man. Mm-hmm. So he reveals his heart to her. And she knows it.
She does.
The very next thing says that she realizes and she saw that he had actually told her everything.
Yeah.
Did that change her?
No.
Sure didn't. She whipped out that razor quicker than snot and went to cutting, right? And actually cut off all of his hair while he was sleeping. He must have been a deep sleeper.
He must have been.
He's been tied up a couple times. He's had his hair braided. I mean,
Maybe he had sleep apnea.
maybe. Maybe.
That's why he was just snoring so loud he couldn't feel somebody weaving his hair.
Yeah, I don't get it. But nevertheless, she gets the cut and the Lord's come back with the money. And then once again, she says, hey, they're upon you. And he gets up and he's like, I will go out and get them just like before. And not realizing his hair was gone.
I mean, he knew, but he didn't like, no.
Right.
You know? He
It says he was unaware.
He was like, oh, I don't have hair. Yeah,
So he was unaware. And not only were the 7 locks gone and that she did it and that she woke him up once again to go do this thing, it also says that she tormented him.
Yes.
So not only was he like loved her and still stuck with her, even though she was being crazy, and then yelling at him for protecting himself.
Right.
Then, after he finally gives her everything that she wants, she still takes advantage instead of like having a change of heart and be like, "Oh man, that really wasn't great,"
Yeah.
and then torments him afterwards.
And the Lord
while they're
departs
down.
from him. And then they come in and take his eyes.
Yep, they bind him up and they gouge his eyes out.
And they take him into prison. Mm-hmm. And why they did it, and he was the grinder. Who,
Yep,
it's like a round wheel with spokes, and they stand at it and they just walk around.
Right, grinding up grain.
If they knew, though, before this next part, if they knew that his everything came from his hair, why did they not keep him on like a weekly hair shaving schedule?
Because they're dumb.
I'm just saying, if I worked at a prison and there was a cannibal, I wouldn't just put him in a cell with another human. Obviously, you keep them alone.
Right.
If you have somebody who, I mean, even if you think like, well, it's gone now, just in case, like it was a one and done situation, you cut their hair just in case, you know? Mm-hmm. But they didn't.
So, yeah.
He was getting stronger.
In case you didn't get that from her talking, his hair began to grow back.
Yeah.
After being in prison for a while.
Yeah.
And after the hair had started to grow a bit, what did the Philistines want to do? They wanted a party, right?
Dance, monkey, dance.
They wanted a party and praise their idols and have Samson on display to mock and to perform.
They want him to perform like a
monkey,
circus, you know?
right? Mm-hmm. And also to mock God.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So they pull him out, even though, or they pull him out and they have him do whatever tricks they have him do. They don't describe him, right? And he's being led by somebody because he's blind at this point.
Now, all the lords are at this party. All the lords of the Philistines and like their wives and kids. There was like 3,000 there. Mm-hmm. I think it said, of men and women. Mm-hmm. Maybe not kids, just men and women.
Well, it clarifies men and women.
Yeah, so probably no children. At least he stops there. Mm-hmm. He'll murder foxes, but not children.
Maybe.
Who knows?
We don't know. It wasn't said.
Who knows?
Anyway, so as he's being led by this person, because he's blind, he asked that person to stand him by the pillars that are holding up the temple so that he may lean against them. And once he does that, he gets to the pillar, leans against it, and actually prays to God
for strength.
So that he can take out the Philistines that gouged his eyeballs out.
Yep.
And lo and behold, he earnestly prayed and trusted on God for his strength versus something else. Mm-hmm. And he did push over the pillars.
That was me pulling the pillars in.
Not only did he push the pillars down and take out all of the lords, but he also took out himself.
Yes.
So that in that one fell swoop, he actually took out more in that one moment than he had in the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. Now, it's kind of hard to be like seeing God in that situation of like taking people out. Right. Because we're in a different era at this point.
We're definitely in a different place.
But he was working to get his people out of captivity.
Right.
And unfortunately, especially in ancient times, that meant war.
Right.
Right. And it
Or
meant
it's not
doing the things
lovely,
like
but
this, right?
sometimes necessary.
Because not too far in the distant future from this is when David actually finally defeats the Philistines,
Right.
right, with a slingshot. Well,
Right.
start with a slingshot.
Right.
So Samson actually started the whole deliverance process that ended up with David finally bringing it full circle.
Right.
And therefore, God kept his promise to his mom that he would be the start of the deliverance of the Israelites.
Right.
Right? So we say all that to say we know that this doesn't directly apply to us. Right?
Correct.
Because people can have long hair and be weak, and people can have short hair and be strong.
Right.
Right? It doesn't necessarily equate to your hairstyle. And if you want to get into the spiritual realm of the situation, I would say the people that, on average, the people that have less hair on their head are actually stronger spiritually than those that have more hair.
He's saying, like, if you're old.
Well, I mean, mature. Let's call it mature.
Mature people. People with crowns of splendor.
Right. They've got their God link exposed.
Doop, doop. Doop, doop.
But, but there are some big things that we see in Samson that we can directly apply.
Right.
Right. And big one being is recognizing where strength came from and relying on that for the strength.
Right.
Right. Samson knew that he was strong, right? And he knew it came from God, but he didn't know it. Just like being in seeing a fast car roll down the road, you can like, man, that car's fast. But it's not until you're in the car going down the road at a high rate of speed, like you really realize just what fast is.
You get to experience that.
And Samson had always had his hair. So he did, I mean, yes, he knew it, but he didn't know it. He had never experienced the
Not
knot,
having it.
right?
Right.
So, with that, you see at the end of his life, he actually relies on God, calls on God to get that strength to accomplish the mission that God had for him. And God granted that because he was relying on him.
He was finally getting to that place.
Now, for us today, that is, we need to rely on God for salvation. We need to rely on God for our day-to-day things so that we can go forth and be that ambassador for him as we go about our days. Right?
Yeah. The day-to-day spiritual assistance.
Right. And, you know, we are in a spiritual war, and one of the ways that we can have the spiritual strength is putting on the armor of God, right? And that's not just a one-time put on and, okay, I've got the salvation, so therefore I'm good. No, you need to continually put it on and kind of, in essence, shine it up and continue to learn and to trust on God so that when those fiery darts come, your shield's ready.
Right.
And when the devil or one of his minions comes around to spiritually attack you, you've got that sword that you can use to defend and even defeat.
Right. But put on more than just your salvation. Otherwise, what's that breastplate of salvation?
It is the helmet of salvation.
There you go. Because your head is protected, but, you know,
Yep.
most likely not going to die. But also, there are other pieces to help you.
Yeah, there are other pieces
daily
to help you that are
Daily battle.
all tied to spirituality. And the biggest thing is girding your loins with the belt of truth, right? You have to start there. You have to be in God's word. You have to be learning. You have to be continually getting in there. So one, just like Samson knowing God at the end and where his strength came from, so he called on him. We're not going to know God unless we get into God's word and we actually commune with him through his word. Right. So that is the big thing there, is getting to actually know where your source of grace, your source of salvation, is going to come from, so that you would actually know how he would want you to act in the spiritual warfare that we're in.
Yeah,
Right?
for sure.
And the other big things that come out of it is choose your companions wisely.
My goodness.
Right? Your companions are so important. The people you surround yourself with that can either have your best interest at heart or be there to tear you down at every second of the day.
I know, like, you say it as a parent to your teenager, or you heard it as a teenager from your parents, but really, like, come on, for real, for real.
For real, for real.
Okay.
But no, it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
We've all been in those relationships, whether it be with a boyfriend girlfriend relationship, significant other relationship, or even just a friend
Yeah.
that will constantly bring you into a point like, I'm about to go to jail, or like
Hopefully not to that point.
hopefully not to that point, or like, holy crap, I'm at odds with this other person that I don't have any problem with because this Yahoo keeps causing issues. So
Yeah.
it's very much a thing that you gotta pick the person you're gonna hitch up to or hitch with wisely, so that not only can you have their best interest at heart and make them better, they can have your best interest at heart and push you to do better.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else?
And the to go along with the thing of choosing your companions wisely is also finding a group that you can come into and learn, and to have them help you put on the armor of God and to sharpen you and to grow you, right?
Yeah.
We're not meant to do this alone. One, God gives us the Holy Spirit once we're saved. So we've got that guidance, but we also need other believers, other people around us to help guide us, because we can still get mixed up and down the wrong path all by ourselves, right?
Yeah.
It's good to have those people around us that have our best interest at heart to help guide us, right? We've all had silly decisions that we've made, and we hopefully had that person like, that was pretty dumb, wasn't it? Right? And help guide you back to a good place. What?
That would hurt my feelings. Somebody said that was pretty dumb. But sometimes it's necessary.
Oh, and that's a guy perspective
That is true.
versus
If a girl would be like, that was stupid. Sometimes there's been times I'm like, yeah, that's dumb.
yeah. But I mean, that's just the way guys communicate. Anyway,
Any hoot.
that was the recap for 2 weeks. I know this went a little long, but it was really good information. There was a lot to cover, and I hope you were strengthened by it,
Yeah.
that you learned a little something,
Yeah.
that you can know that God holds his promises throughout time, including today, that he's not going to leave you nor forsake you,
That's
no
right.
matter the silliness you get yourself into.
That's right.
So with that, go ahead and hit the like button.
You don't want to talk about what we ate?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
We had a sandwich bar. It was so great. Different kinds of breads, meats, cheeses, veggies, lots of veggies and sauces.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. It was also Father's Day, so hey yo for all those
Hey-yo.
daddies out there. That sounded weird.
The daddy-os.
Daddy-o, yeah, I was like daddies. For all the daddy-os, the papas, the abbas, the fathers, however you like to be called from your children's. Any hoot. Happy Father's Day.
Belated, of course, but
Well, this is the weekend recap, so
yeah. So
It's on
yes,
time.
we had a fantastic time with family and friends that we got to have sandwiches and play some games, and yeah, it was really fun. But yeah, go ahead and like this deal. Maybe comment down below. Talk about a time that maybe you were strengthened in
Yeah.
a time where you really relied on God, or
Yeah.
maybe you're going through it and you need some help, and we would love to help you.
Yeah.
So just let us know, and we will talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.